My, how the tables have turned. The changes to Shadow Priest that happened recently have placed it on the map. And in terms of my personal bucket list, it got a big upgrade with 8 out of 10 things happening. 3 out of 4? 2 out of 3? One of those. We postponed making this video for about 2 months now, but it is time. It is Shadow's time right now, so let's check it out. We will do something different this time and not talk too much about the class changes. You can check our holy video if you wish, since the class changes are very tiny and most revolve around pruning and moving nodes around. There is more to talk about the actual Shadow changes, since quite a few happened. First of all, Shadow Fiend is gone as a DPS cooldown. It's not completely gone as a mechanic, but we will get to that in a second. Dark Ascension is fully gone now, no more Donzo Bonzo, and a lot of talents that affected it are now affecting Voidform instead, or they have just been removed from the tree. The next big thing that you will notice is that Devouring Plague has had a shift in identity, where it now is called Shadow Word Madness. It still does the same thing though. The first new talent we will talk about is Invoked Nightmare, where Shadow Word Pain will deal 150% increased damage. This is a choice with Misery, and if I remember correctly, they wanted to retain the playstyle of manually spreading dots. Although realistically, this is likely going to be good really only in raids, or rather single target encounters, where casting one occasional Shadow Word Pain won't be a big deal, since you don't have to worry about Vampiric Touch because you don't have Shadow Crash anymore because it's completely gone and it has been replaced with a better, improved, proper void ability in Tentacle Slam. This new ability will be the way to apply your Vampiric Touch and Shadow Word Pain if you took Misery, especially in AoE. It works slightly different and may require some adjustments on your part. It hits targets in a line in front of you, and the line is a bit tighter than you would think, but does extend further away than the animation would indicate. Descending Darkness will upgrade Tentacle to do actually decent damage. Surge of Insanity has also been changed, where now it will just increase the damage of your Mind Flay, with Mind Flay Insanity going into the Archon tree. One of the best things that happened that made Shadow shine once again is Hunting Shadows, where Shadowy Apparitions will extend the duration of your dots on targets that they hit. Also, since I didn't mention, Shadowy Apparitions will now only trigger with your spender being cast, which is Shadow Word Madness. Voidform is now your only DPS cooldown outside Power Infusion, and now upgrades into Void Volley that has an AoE component, giving him more power in multi-target scenarios. The upgrade nodes it has will be Improved Voidform, a 60 Insanity generation and 5% additional spell power buff to the ability, but also Ancient Madness, which was reworked into extending your Voidform whenever you use Shadow Word Madness, with a diminishing return, possibly to not create the Frost, Death Knight, Breath of Syndragosa syndrome and make people hate Voidform. An interesting talent is Maddening Tentacles, which now makes your tentacle apply madness as well. But the cool part is that it leads into Crushing Void, a damage increase to Tentacle and Volley, but also a free Volley proc once Voidform ends. This is a perfect way to make abilities cool and engaging by giving conditional procs that are relative to your own rotation to keep things simple with the new class philosophy. Death and Madness was moved from the class tree all the way here as a choice node with Death Speaker, meaning you cannot have both mechanics at the same time anymore. Lastly, Death of Shadows will be the way to trigger Shadow Fiend now, with Mindbender being passive and summoned from Voidform now. The whole thing feels like a major cleanup, and it spreads into the hero talents. But first, the little apex surprise in Void Apparitions. You can now spawn apparitions from activating your idol, which is great for apparition lovers, such as myself, but also feels like it might push you into always wanting 3 idol capstones. That, granted, has kind of been the play so far, but more importantly, it feels like it might lock you into shadowy apparition talents from now on. The second node gives your apparitions a 30% chance to spawn a Void apparition that casts a Void Bolt at their target. The third node makes Tentacle Slam automatically proc an idle effect with everything that it comes as a package deal. These epics are really cool and definitely feel like they play right into the theme of Shadow Priest. Before we go into the hero talents, I just wanted to ask you for a huge favor. If you enjoyed this video and find it helpful, or like Shadow Priest so much that you cannot contain yourself, hit that like button and subscribe. Helps your boys out to grow and get more cool stuff to your screens. We also have a Patreon if you are interested, link is down in the description, where we do some more exclusive stuff as a show of appreciation. Thank you, let's get back to it. The hero talents have changed quite a bit for Shadow, possibly the most out of all of the classes, and points out their philosophy and what they want them to be for future specs. Voidweaver will now grant you the Void Torrent ability in case you thought you lost it, and casting it gives you Entropic Rift. Quicken Pulse is a buff to Pain and Rift, nothing amazing there. Void Empowerment makes Rift give you Shadowy Insight instead of Mind Devourer like it works on live. Void Wraith has been reworked as well to adjust for the Shadow Fiend and Mindbender changes. When Entropic Rift ends, you get a Void Wraith every time for 6 seconds, which is normally 5, without the pet duration extension talent that you might have to get now. Maybe. Touch the Void extends the duration of Void Heart, and Overwhelming Shadows buffs Void Torrent by 50%. Archon followed the same formula where it now gives you Halo, moving Power Surge slightly down. Perfected Form only works with Voidform now and only buffs it by 5%. Sustained Potency makes Halo extend Voidform instead of Dark Ascension for obvious reasons. Energy Conservation makes Power Surge last 5 additional seconds. The big one is Manifested Power, which mechanically does the same thing as it does on live, but with the changes in the spec tree, it is important to mention it's the only source of Mind Flay insanity. Focused Outburst addresses the new Void Volley, buffing it even more. And lastly, a choice node with Realized Potential and Spirit Well. The former buffs Shadow or Death, while the latter Shadowy Apparitions. It seems to also follow the layout of the talent tree, where most Shadowy Apparition things are on one side, while Death is on the other, a duality that may be prevalent in future and eventual builds. Although the changes are quite numerous, the playstyle remains largely the same. The one exception is that you press your Tentacle Slam way more often than you would have Shadow Crash. And the dot extension mechanic, whether you play it or not, something that I have personally been asking for since Dragonflight Season 2, will make extending dots less of a headache. Tentacle Slam is a bitch trying to get everything dotted up since its AoE is fairly narrow, so you will struggle a bit to get everybody vamped up. I fully nerded up and played Archon with this build in the gameplay that you are seeing. I tried to maximize the Shadowy Apparitions damage as much as I could with all of the talents except Haunting Shadows, which somehow I forgot, despite being the mechanic I wanted. I did want to go deeper into single target though and execute damage, and managed to out DPS my Demon Hunter friend that has kept me on the ropes all day. The boss damage that can be achieved with Shadow can be real in dungeons. I did end up going all out on Shadowy Apparitions with this Voidweaver build though, going into the Mindbender and Yashrash Capstone. I figured if I want to play with a pet build, this is all the pets I can get. And it did limit me to a few talents in the middle part that I couldn't get. I really wanted Void Touch and Maddening Touch since I just got used to them, but felt too expensive for what I wanted to do. If there is one flaw in the current design from an average player's perspective, is that I have archetypes in my talents, like Shadowy Apparitions, Shadow or Death, and Pets, and all of them seem to be buffed in some ways, but I can never get all, nor should I. But the problem is that the apparitions seem to take most of the space in the tree, which is great because it's one of my favorite shadow mechanics, but doesn't leave room for much else, which means either we sim talents or sacrifice intuitive choices like Mind Devourer, Spectral Horrors, or whatever else to get talents like Instilled Doubt, which seems very strong, but not sure what to give up for it. It's like holding off on eating some Christmas gingerbread on the 25th to make room for more spinach, since you know your body wants iron. Yeah, the deficiency is a problem, but it's Christmas, man! When am I gonna eat gingerbread if not now? That's how I feel when I have to give up apparition talents for an apparition build to get what is likely more damage from dots. This is not a Shadow Priest issue, of course, but it is, in my opinion, what should have to change considering what the new class philosophy is. But hold up, what do you do when you don't play with all of these talents? I'll tell you. You are in your own home, making it homier, or finding more chairs. Check out our video on the top 7 tips we have for you with the new housing system that you may not know about.